The weary traveler draws close to the end of the path.
We have never had it so good.
All of this just works.
We are selling tea to China.
You did not have to redeem this, ma'am!
Out with them, forget about them.
Your broadcast is very biased. You've written a lot of ridiculous articles, so I would encourage you to be more journalistic and have more integrity.
Socialism is when the government does stuff.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse. At this point, I suppose I'm going to have to actually call it the bi-weekly show for the sensible centrist. It wasn't my plan, but unfortunately we had to cancel last week's appearance as well. I was away traveling for work, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe we could have figured something out, but it wouldn't have been of the quality that I would enjoy. Before I introduce my co-host, as usual, I would like to point out that Tricky Woo has come in with the 9:01 p.m. like on the YouTube video. That is incredibly strong representation. We love to see it. Ludwig Path, how are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing okay. Quality of sleep has suffered a bit, and so does my cognitive ability. So I think I'm a little bit choppier than usual, but that can also lead to funnier commentary. So we'll hope for that. I guess we'll just welcome people to the Q3 episode of the Longhouse now. That's the quarterly report.
Yeah. We're just going to reduce it. It's going to be less and less, and then it's just like one episode a year at some point.
Podcast austerity. People need to be on the diet.
Yeah. We weren't able to get you guys Ozempic, so we're just going to have to stream less.
The problem then is that they'll just substitute it for worse podcasts, which we don't want.
That's true.
So there's a moral responsibility there. So we've tried to use AI to auto-generate Longhouse episodes. It hasn't been up to the standard we want, so we haven't rolled it out yet, but we look for that in the future.
Nordan asks if we have done our civic duty. I suppose he asks if we have voted. Would you like to disclose if you have voted?
I have voted. Yes.
I have voted too.
It's pre-voting now, right? Or early voting. Yeah. I guess it's the correct English term for it. So
I put my slip of paper into the fraud machine the fraud box, because the election is going to be stolen by the government of Norway.
I noticed that the poll watchers were all women. The people behind taking my ballot were women, and they all look like librarians. So,
well, it's because some of mine were men, but it's just pensioners, right? They get they do this with like exams at universities as well, where like if you're a pensioner, you get like an offer to come basically get paid to sit there, and you get paid really well to do that job. So, yeah.
Very lucrative opportunity. I assumed like the poll stuff is more like voluntary, perhaps. Do they pay? I've just never been offered to work with that, so I assume there's enough people who want to.
Yeah. Free. Because again, the pensioners get a lot of money sitting there. So yeah.
Did you notice anything suspicious about the ordering of the ballots? Because I guess that's something people think about.
Is it? Okay, no, I didn't. I seem to think that they're alphabetically ordered or something. When I looked at my booth, because I had to spend some time browsing because I was looking for, just for fun, I was looking for different sort of ballots to just see what was represented, right? And I noticed that I think it was alphabetical. So
Yeah, I did that
No.
too. I just certain parties, especially like because it's local ones or something, and you have the list, you could tell who's in there. Especially with the more kind of esoteric, these exotic niche parties who are actually on
Yeah,
the ballot.
exactly.
I feel like they got a really good shake in my booth because they seemed a little bit more visible. A lot of these exotic niche parties,
Yeah.
like the Industrial Party or the Party for Peace and Justice, they seem to just appear on top. So it's
Yeah,
it's
they
a
did, but I
free
think
free
that's because
advertisement.
it's yeah, I saw that too. Actually, it wasn't. Yeah, now that I think about it, it wasn't alphabetical. The Party for Peace and Prosperity or whatever, Peace and Justice, the Russians, they were placed higher up. They were even above some of the big ones, right?
Yeah, I noticed
I
that. I
wonder
don't know
what it is.
if that helps, but they can't complain about lack of exposure at least. So I think
No,
they've done
there
well
has to
for
be some
themselves.
sort of like numbering system or something that like there's some sort of algorithm that decides, right, where they put that stuff. Like they do in libraries, right? There's this system for like ordering what books go where. Anyway, Helios asks for $2 Canadian, finished Euromaxing and having babies. Yes, but just barely. I actually had my. I think this was my first week back at the office. I had my summer vacation quite late this year, so it's been a rough week. Having to put in my 4 hours of work right before having a 4-hour cigarette break.
Yeah, take the lunch break and we take the siesta and the cigarette break, and then go back and work for an hour maybe.
Yeah.
I just moved some items on the dash on the Jira task board, and we're done for the day. We're just gonna
Yeah.
smoke and have some beers.
Nothing on my end, thanks. All right. So, do we want to talk about how, Norway is making Lindsey Graham quake in his boots? Do we want to talk about
Yeah, I
the
think that's
tragic
good.
incident?
That's good content, right? It's good bait.
Let's start with
Content
this.
for the audience. Lindsey Graham is mad, then everybody tunes in.
He actually was mad on Twitter. Let me see if I can find the post for later. But this is a translated article, so it might have some weird moments here. But we'll try and do our best to translate. Let me Lindsey Graham. Find the. Okay, so. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham calls the oil fund's exclusion of the U.S. Caterpillar a bullshit decision, saying it will have consequences. The Conservatives and the Progress Party are worried. In recent weeks, the Bank of Norway, which manages the oil fund, has implemented a number of measures to reduce exposure to companies linked to Israel's warfare on the Gaza Strip and illegal settlements in the West Bank. It includes sales of stakes in a number of smaller Israeli companies, but also a formal exclusion of 6 shares on the recommendation of the Ethics Council. So the oil fund has an official Ethics Council, by the way, that sort of mandates what we can and cannot invest in. And in some, I think we've mentioned it before, it's this funny video about like how Norway controls all of the world or something. It has like a Kurzgesagt like thumbnail, but essentially it means that the oil fund likes having like its fingers in a lot of baskets, just enough to be able to actually sit on the board of a bunch of stuff and sort of use that as a bit of leverage at times. So if they own like 20% of a company, they can essentially, without having direct sort of like board control or anything, they can sort of have an implicit influence by saying that, hey, if you do something that we can't abide by law, we're just going to pull out, tomorrow. No warning. So it's an interesting position sort of to take around the world. And it's a very deliberate position. Diplomacy is our weapon, as it is, as it were.
Well, it is, as he says, the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world. which is, I mean, it's quite something given that Norway is not very big as a country, but they are able to throw around a lot of money because of the oil. And I mean, the purpose of the fund is sort of to hedge. It's both to invest ethically, whatever they think that means, and to sort of hedge themselves against oil. What do you call it? Conjecture. What's the cycles? I guess the business cycles and the general
booms
oil
and
market,
busts.
so that you're invested in various sectors to sort of shelter Norwegian money or from. Yeah, well, this is what a hedge fund does generally: uncorrelated returns. It's kind of the point. But as you said, they they have their fingers in a lot of pies, which I find it sort of interesting that they haven't. This isn't like a conspiracy talking point online. They've sort of been able to escape that very cleanly.
It's just kind of like an oddity to people who are into geopolitics, right?
Well, yeah, if you're into geopolitics, you know about it. If you're into global economics, you probably know about the sovereign wealth fund. But otherwise, it's like it is the biggest sovereign wealth fund by quite a margin. And people they talk about BlackRock, for example, who essentially do a lot of the same things. They invest in, sit on multiple companies, threaten to pull out money if they don't abide by certain. Well, it's like the DEI and all this compliance stuff, but. I've seen interviews with Nikolai Tangen, who's sort of like the head of the sovereign wealth fund, and he's talking about like he's like very pro DEI and this sort of diversity stuff, and that he is like pressured, American companies to be more inclusive, essentially. Which is why like there's so many threads I think you could pull on there, but like there's always some Norwegian behind every black HR woman that rejected your application. It's because of
every black HR
sovereign
woman
fund,
is secretly funded by a smirking Norwegian. Yeah,
it's the Norwegians, and now you're seeing that they're also behind all of the Israeli startups. Right? They're funded by guess who funded that? Guess who? The Israeli startups that are making the sort of like drone tech that imitates baby noises or something. That's like the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund. That's backing them, and now Lindsey Graham is really upset because they're pulling out, which is something that, as I understand it, it's not really it's not really as sort of seamless as it has been, because generally in Norwegian politics and Norwegian bureaucracies, Israel has been quite unpopular, and I think they've been trying to push the sovereign wealth fund on multiple occasions to divest from Israel, but. They've
Turns
just
out
sort
it
of
wasn't the Jews, it was this guy
their
the entire time, by the way.
yes. When
Sorry,
you know the
go
truth,
ahead.
the truth news. They've tried to pressure them to divest, I think, on multiple occasions, but they just sort of quietly kept all of the stakes in these companies until it's sort of reached a bit of a higher level, a bit more media attention, and now they're having to officially.
But again,
do
it's sort of paying off. I mean, regardless of what regardless of whether or not you agree that funding, BB's, child dematerializer 4000 is something that's good or not. Having the ability to be like, well, screw you guys, we're pulling out, and then having people like Lindsey Graham basically like mauling on Twitter is actually quite powerful, right? It means that it worked, right?
It's very good PR, I think, because Lindsey Graham is just so universally hated that even though he's sort of bent the knee to Trump, he still manages to be, he's in this sort of weird position where I think almost all of the MAGA base hates him, and I think so do the liberals and everybody else. So, but I find it interesting. I guess Cat or Caterpillar, that's like the company that makes all the tractors and the all of the autistic toys,
The bulldozers, yeah.
that you dreamt about as a kid.
Literally, yeah. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to ride bulldozers, right? I think many young boys want to do that. But yes, among these that they pulled out of is the US-based Caterpillar, which has long been in many critics' spotlights because the company provides bulldozers who have been used to destroy Palestinian properties. Now, there are strong reactions to this particular sale from political teams in the United States. Senator Lindsey Graham, who's been a profiled politician in foreign affairs for a number of years, and who has also approached President Donald Trump after being one of his largest critics, on Thursday night had a harsh criticism of this measure on his account on X. He writes, "To Norway's sovereign wealth fund, which is the largest in the world, your decision to punish Caterpillar, an American company, because Israel uses their product is beyond offensive. Your BS decision will not go unanswered." And he even follows it up with, like, he wasn't done. He had to retweet himself. That's how mad he was. To those who run Norway's sovereign wealth fund, if you cannot do business with Caterpillar because Israel uses their products, maybe it's time you're made aware that doing business or visiting America is a privilege, not a right. Maybe it's time to put tariffs on countries who refuse to do business with great American companies. Or maybe we shouldn't give visas to individuals who run organizations that attempt to punish American companies for geopolitical differences. I would urge you to reconsider your short-sighted decision. Of course, I mean, America is the empire, so it's kind of moot for me to say that this is kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, but it's just fun to see how triggered he was by this, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just interested in seeing how far up he's able to push this, or how much this can go under the radar, because it's not unthinkable that at some point, like, Norway becomes the target for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Trump sort of gets wind of this and he has like one of his moments where he decides that actually, Norway is the reason everything sucks, right?
Yeah, we've been ripping off Americans forever or whatever, and you get the free NATO protection, so maybe we should just force them to invest. They have to have a target for their sovereign wealth fund to be invested in the United States, or maybe they should take a part of the sovereign wealth fund or something. I mean, it doesn't sound that far-fetched given recent history of the last 8 months. I think that actually sounds quite plausible as a demand. What actually comes of it, I'm not so sure, but I don't think it's unthinkable. I know that Elon also has it in for Nicholas Tangen, right? Because they've had a sort of spat back and forth with the bonus, right?
And he got mad that he had like shared the messages they sent, and like Tangen had to say, "I'm a public official. I'm literally required by law to share the messages." he thought the DMs were private.
So he is putting himself a bit in the spotlight here, and it's a sort of vulnerable place. It's just a question of like, is this going to bubble up to the surface as like a main, Trump admin plot line?
It might, but to be fair,
the background.
I think it's going to stay in the background. I think Trump would have picked up on this if it was important enough, but we'll see. I think in general, sort of the vibes have shifted so much against Israel in the past couple of years across the globe that this isn't going to, it might be, if it was the straw that broke the camel's back, we would have seen like some swift retaliation at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Israel's remaining unpopular, but it hasn't changed the U.S. admins' approach to them at all. They continue to sort of attack Israel's critics internally and domestically. So you wouldn't be safe for that reason. That's so again, like just like I was talking about, how the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund should ideally be like a natural kind of target for some of the more sort of what do you consider like far-right, more conspiracy-minded audience. This would also be like a really good target for Trump if this is something that they want to focus on. I'm just not sure if it's just buried in kind of all of this other manure, related to whether it's Switzerland or Venezuela or whatever nation they've set their sights on currently.
Norway's bank investment management has no comment on Graham's post, and their communication advisor, Une Solheim, says the fund has not received any inquiries from neither Graham nor other US politicians. So, this guy from the Conservatives say that this is not going to be nice. This is precisely what we've been concerned about and warned against. Politicization of the oil fund has been something that the left has wanted for a long time. The consequences of this is for the welfare of our common savings and the welfare of future generations is something we've warned off. I mean, this is why people hate conservatives. It's like, what do you stand for? Like, do you just want? Is it just nothing? It's just like pure, undistilled, like globalistic. The somewheres versus the anywheres, and like you have a party in your country who's for the anywheres, and that's the conservatives now.
I think that's in a sense fair enough as a kind of in my own mental framework of where conservatives quote unquote fit in. It's really about kind of this kind of rhetoric. It's like, well, what about my self-interest, right? Because that is what motivates the most of the time. It's like, well, we could help the people over there, but that puts us in a vulnerable position, so maybe we shouldn't. And this is not.
Well, what about the nation's interest then, Mr. Conservative? Have you thought about those? Oh, yes. No, sorry, I forget. You're like the no borders guy, right? you're the most pro EU party we have, right?
Yeah, so, I'm not sure with this guy exactly. Maybe he's a little.
No, I'm not saying this guy, but like as a sort of sock puppet for the conservatives, right?
Well, yeah, he is. I thought that he was in the Progress Party, just I think because of his posturing. But yeah, he is like this type of. I don't know what you call it. This is becoming like a stereotype now. It's like this Iranian pro-Israel right populist person who is.
I'm not sure if they actually have the pro-Israelisms or if they sort of have to bake that in to sort of complete the package. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's a part
ideologically.
They are like they represent. They don't live in Iran, but they are kind of in opposition to Iran's government, and a part of that. I think just Zionism is just a part of the package.
I mean, in general, like looking at it economically and like in terms of integration, Iranians is probably like the best sort of like immigrant group we have in Norway. Like because they all came in the 80s before the regime change, so they were all like westernized already, and they generally do really well for themselves because they were like highly educated, right?
The literal meme, what do you call Iran before the regime?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
They have the bikinis and they walk around in short shorts.
It's literally those people who came to Norway, right? And so it's their kids now who've been sort of really drilled into having like, you have to integrate, it's very important, and you have to be successful. There are a bunch of other immigrant groups that obviously aren't doing so well, but it's like if you have to pick one, these ones are really successful. But yes, as Nordanon says, the Shah would roll in his grave if he saw these guys. Farman emphasizes that he does not decide whether or not this or other exclusions are correct. We have the ethical regulatory framework, the Ethics Council, and we have the Oil Fund, and it's placed at an arm's length that is important for this not to appear as a political tool. But honestly, I feel like the Ethics Council hasn't been doing this as a political tool. It's been doing it as like the thing with this hasn't been politics. It's been, I mean, of course, it's a hot button issue, but it's been anti-war in a sense. It's just anything that's military or have been used for military purposes, we're just going to not support, right? I feel like that's pretty unilateral, right?
I feel very.
But again, I just go back to this as it's at least it's not a sexy position, but it's an understandable, logical position from the conservatives to just say that.
Saying that we're just not going to get involved.
We're not going to simp for Donald Trump, but we're going to try to just be quiet and maintain as good a relation with the United States as we can, which is a different position than the people who are like, these sort of MAGA, the Norwegian MAGA, Trump worshippers or something.
Yeah.
But just saying that, okay, let's not rock the boat too much because something could happen to us. So we're just going to take a cautious approach that is self-interested, which is it's logical. It's just not very appealing, I think, to most people.
He keeps saying, please Please, bro, please. It's the Ethics Council. It's not us. Please, bro. Donald, if you're reading this, it wasn't us. It was the Ethics Council. Please, Donald, don't nuke us. The Progress Party is also saying that this is unfortunate. I'm not sure if there's anything more to cover here. Should we move on, or do you want to read the rest of this?
No, I think we covered enough of it. It's just an interesting little thing to have your eye on.
Do we don't want to do polls for the election, or do you want to do the murder?
Maybe we could look at the what do you call it? The Child Protective Services murder case.
Sure. So it's going to take it's not like one article, so we're going to have to sort of piece this together a little bit. So this is the one I wanted, actually. One moment. Share. This is going to be like a summary page. So this woman was working at some sort of like some sort of like government institution for. I never got. Do you have like an actual idea of what the point of the institution was?
No,
People just
I
say
just thought it was a part of the child.
It's connected to child.
System,
It is. It's connected to child protective services, but no one's telling me what it was for. Maybe if someone in the chat knows who are from Norway. So, this woman was killed by an 18-year-old man, a couple of days ago. He apparently committed the crime with a knife of some kind, and he had written a bit of a manifesto, and he had intention of doing more murders. I forget whether or not it was like an intention to murder people of like a specific ethnicity or whatever it was. People are saying it's an explicit sort of like right-wing manifesto thing, but of course you can say it was planned, but he also did get caught like 5 minutes later because he forgot to have money for the cab. So
it's a bit of a skills issue.
You know,
probably not the most stable guy.
We'll get back to it, but I guess my primary sort of critique of the coverage of this is that, of course, the news have been all over the fact that this was sort of like, you know, right-wing extremism motivated. Again, we'll get back to it. But I feel like an underreported thing is that this guy seems to be just a nut job in many ways.
Even worse, he's a Serb.
Well, yes, right. And as I told you, having grown up alongside a bunch of Balkans who fled to Norway essentially during their, every 10 years they start killing each other, whatever they do, right? And so they fled here, and yeah, a lot of them were, I'm so sorry to say, they were really unstable, right?
He tried to do like a mini version of the Serbian genocide again to cleanse Kosovo, but it didn't work. So
and now it says that, this guy George Wilms, this guy is technically German. He's of Serbian descent, I think, or he was born in Serbia as a young child, and then his parents moved to Germany, and then they moved to Norway. But this guy has been, it seems, in and out of sort of like child protective systems for a while. He's been on the radar. Of course he has. They always have. But again, this guy seems like the nut job angle seems more appropriate here than, this guy was like some criminal or sort of some right-wing mastermind, right? And apparently he thinks that he cannot be punished by the courts for this because it was a political action. He's not criminally responsible for what he's done. Again, this guy's an idiot, right?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. I assume it's because he's over 18 then that he's eligible for something like this. But I tried to find the manifesto or something, if that's like a PDF or something. Or has that been scrubbed, do you think?
It must have been scrubbed. I didn't bother going to look for it, but maybe someone has it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not probably not interesting for content, but it's kind of like outsider art or something like that just to look at for I guess for content related purposes.
And it's it's unfortunate that this happened. I think the situation she found herself in, with being, I think, like the only person working the night shift at this institution with well, obviously unstable kids, is not good. And that sucks, right? Now, it's so hard for me to deal with the sort of like right-wing extremism without getting into, like, imagine if the situation was reversed, right? But we can actually do that. So I'm going to do it for a moment, because if you recall, like, Pat, a couple of years ago, some retard hyped himself up on a bunch of like Islam Sharia videos and then went out and started murdering people with a bow and arrow. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the Kongsberg
Yeah.
episode.
And from the coverage back then, I have to say that I have to lever some critique against the journalist, right? For sort of, well, why didn't you focus as hard on the Sharia stuff then? You focused more on the mental health stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that.
Because
that was
I
a
would
bit
say
more,
this is the same thing.
footnote.
That guy was a nut job too, right? It's not about the political ideology. They were retards, both of them, right?
It's a bit, it was a bit more of a footnote in the coverage that he had some sort of Islamic agenda to that stuff. But
of course, it
I mean,
doesn't sell as
you
well as
have
right-wing extremism
like
kills yet again, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have these media. What do you call it, like these media organizations like Filter or something, that their kind of entire job is to just document every connection they can find between people like this and like the sort of far right ecosystem in Scandinavia broadly. And I think they have done this for this guy. I don't know what he was affiliated with, the Alliance or something, and then more
really?
like this kind of 4chan, right?
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I linked you that article or something, but yeah, they had like a short
Yes, here
reference or something where
I
you could
will
just sort of
find it.
see whatever forums that he was on.
Yeah, I'll find it. I will comment that following this is going to get niche, but following Espen Teigen on Twitter was great, because you had to watch him real time try to spin this as the news came out that he was doing it for like right-wing causes. Chatted with neo-Nazis 4 months before the killing, provided support to the right-wing party. After a woman in the middle of 30, blah, 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 the 17-year-old seemed to make sure other users in the Telegram channel supported Lee Skrim Johansson. When he received affirmative response, he replicated with, "Me too, and I see what the immigrants do to us." This is literally like, I mean, I know he's German. He's a German Serb, but it's like general white race savior. You're browner than I expected, right? Yeah, those immigrants, man, they come here and do the murders, right?
I hate
Proceeds
that shit
to
too,
murder.
to be honest.
Anders asks,
You're
do we know
getting
how a Serbian
replaced.
problem child with German citizenship ended up in the Norwegian system? I don't have any details. Maybe we could find it. Again, the info for this has been incredibly scattered, in my opinion, and it's been very hard to find a sort of a comprehensive breakdown of all of this. And I believe it's also a bit because he's like 18 and this was like a child protective care thing, that there's like certain elements of like his history that is being suppressed because it's going to be a part of the court case or whatever, and it's going to have to involve the child protective care services, etc., etc. So they're like keeping a lid on things intentionally. That's my guess. Let's see here. They talk about Hans-Jürgen Lee Skrim Johansson, who we've covered this before. Blah blah blah.
I'm just sort of surprised that ecosystem still exists. To be honest,
Yeah,
because
I
it
thought
seems
they
like
died.
that party has sort of fallen apart.
Yeah,
a bit, considering that he is.
Yeah,
Liz Clint
he's
is
on.
not top.
Yeah, he's basically, or it's basically being run on like life support. It seems, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not able to really keep up with creating content. I think he might have been in jail for a couple of months because of some like welfare fraud case. I mean, I follow him online. He's not really that active in posting things or keeping up with things. There's no political activity going on, and there are other niche parties that are a lot more active. So it's sort of odd that he like finds his way into these groups.
Yeah.
That's not really conspiratorial or anything. It's just a comment. With regards to it, I just find it peculiar.
Lee Scriven is in Spain sunning his balls most of the time, isn't he? I think so, yeah. 3 days after the arrival in one of these channels, the 70-year-old came out with his discomfort about Norwegian government and democracy in general. Fuck the entire government in Norway today. They only destroy the country even more, just because the damn democracy that destroys the Nordic future. This is so fucking funny to me. Like, this is literally he's doing the meme, right? Of just like, we have to preserve the Aryans, man, and then you're just, you're brown.
The Nigerian guy who's like save Europa thing. But he's probably the whitest guy in that chat group, by the way. So.
On one occasion, his account released a meme that connects a picture of Adolf Hitler and a game reference, a common form of humor on the forum. I would have loved to see that meme. I want to know what that meme was. That has to be like a Hearts of Iron meme or something, right?
It's probably Roblox or Minecraft, given his age, but it would have been funnier with Hearts of Iron, I'm sure.
The 17-year-old also seemed bisexual. Sorry, this is a very strange translation. Hang on, let me bring up the let me bring up the original here. This is an atrocious. To support a comment from another user about Kanye West, that he had to be. That Kanye West had recognized fronting Hitler, even though the American rapper is completely black. So they gave him props for that. In the short period in which Filter News can verify that the 70-year-old uses blah 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 and sought out the Alliance forum, blah blah blah, there was various racist, Jewish, and female negative discussions among other users, humor, open references, Nazism, blah blah blah. One of the people the 70-year-old seems to have chatted with directly is a long-standing Nazi in the Nordic resistance movement from the East. Is that East in Norway, maybe? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, right-wing spotlights. On several occasions, the 70-year-old emphasized that I am Norwegian and we are Norwegian. So, yes. Some threats that were... So, again, this guy was on the radar. This guy was clearly unstable, right? Let's see here. About the same time as the Telegram activity, the 18-year-old man was reviewed for a threat to a public servant. He should also come up with a threatening statements among others in the child welfare system before. The content of at least one of the threats is now seen in the context of his right-wing attitudes. Sure, but it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, I just can't get past the, like, unstable Serbian 17-year-old threatening violence. And it just happens to be that, he's posting Hitler memes. Maybe I'm taking this too lightly. I just feel like in the sort of like statistical correlation, I'm looking much more at like one point than the other.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're trying really hard to sort of pin him into a specific profile where they say it's a kind of causal relationship. Here, he gets radicalized online, and you end up there.
This guy seems like he was already radicalized by the time he arrived, right?
Yeah, with a lot of these cases, you sort of see that like this is probably not happening without online radicalization, but that's not the only ingredients in the brew to get them there.
Yeah.
If you weren't sort of crazy already, in a sense, because he doesn't. a lot of these beliefs that he has is probably not completely irrational either, right? But it would have been interesting to sort of see the to see the manifesto again. But it does strike me as a kind of radicalizable person, probably more than the average.
Most likely, yeah. Before we move on to politics, we're just going to have a quick break, a quick palate cleanser, as it were, because I shared this with you, Luddic Path, from Hala Taha about how LinkedIn has fallen.
No, not LinkedIn. So
this is Hala Taha. She's a young and profiting podcast CEO and founder of Yap Media Network, #1 business, and then it cuts off. This is like peak LinkedIn. It has to cut off all the titles you give yourself. LinkedIn doesn't feel like LinkedIn anymore. I started posting content on here 7 years ago. And this was the place for career updates, industry expertise, and genuine networking. Now, so much of my feed is flooded with generic motivation or life advice, copy-pasted clickbait content, AI bots taking over comment sections, and this has caused LinkedIn's algorithm to shift dramatically this year. Reach is down 50%, follower growth is down 60%, overall engagement is down 75%, according to LinkedIn analyst Richard Vanderblom. So if you want to stand out on LinkedIn in 2025, focus on this. Using authentic visuals like photos, carousels, talking head videos, make your posts actionable, specific, and educational. Share lessons with stories only you can tell. Real and thoughtful engagement on competitors in your niche. Posting quality content consistently. Using AI as an assistant to your content creation, not a replacement for it. LinkedIn is evolving into a creator-driven platform. The rules have changed. But if you want to stand out, you have to keep it human. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, as I have mentioned before, I thought this is true for almost every social media network, and I think LinkedIn has been spared more than most. Actually, I get where she's coming from, and I see this AI stuff.
My LinkedIn is really good, but I've been very sort of like shy in accepting random people, right? Like my LinkedIn is quite small, niched to sort of the area I work in, and as I've told you before, like LinkedIn is kind of the best place for me to go if I want to know what people I know are doing, like what they did for vacation. Like you'll get some like slop with like you have to connect it to some sort of like business lesson, or be like, now I'm, you're posting vacation photos talking about how great it was, and now it's going to be great to be back in the office. But at least you're telling me genuinely what you did on your vacationing, showing me photos, right? And Facebook isn't giving me that anymore.
No, I think this is really good for that. If you want to just see, okay, I haven't kept in touch with Mr. A, B, or Mr. X or something, and that person, you can tell if they've changed their jobs, if they stayed at the same job.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
they put out an update, if they got a promotion or something, if they did some marketing material, and you can see
Yeah,
you can see
could
what
be
they
like,
look
give
like.
them a like and be like, oh, nice, you got a promotion, good stuff, right?
So there's something there that's also happening in the real world, like unlike with Facebook or Instagram, Pinterest, I guess to some extent, Twitter X, and where it's just total unreality on every level. Nobody is who they say they are. Everybody's behind some kind of avatar. All the content is AI generated. So I think LinkedIn, just because because of the professional focus, has been relatively safe. That you can't like completely fake the entire thing. It has to be tied into like a real activity.
Yeah, at some point you're going to have to show something, right?
Yeah. So you can't just like, I mean, okay, of course you can, but it would just be difficult, I think, to run LinkedIn that way.
I mean, look at Carnivore Aurelius, right? For example. All right. Let's move on to the election. And we'll start, I guess we'll just look at the poll, right? Let's see here. I had it up, but it closed on me. Sorry. Here we go. So, This is a little bit outdated, I think. Because what they did is that usually when here we go. Usually when we do snap polls during election season, they tend to poll about like 1,500 people because the margins are so small going above that you don't have to do more generally. And they've had quite good success with that in the past 50 years, whatever, how long they've been doing this. But this one is a bit different because they have 15,000 answers. Now, the margin of error isn't that much more improved, but you can get some interesting sort of slices based on location and stuff like that. So how it looks right now, or as of a couple of days ago, it's looking that the Labour Party is still in the lead, but only slightly. And it's also looking that like the Progress Party is up quite a bit, of course, and of course the Conservatives have been suffering heavily. Now, this is in many ways the worst outcome. Like this poll here is like the nightmare scenario for me, because this means that Labour isn't strong enough to rule on its own, right? But the Conservative bloc isn't strong enough to do it either. So you're going to get this like horrible Labour-led government where the commies are basically going to get their like prime stuff in, which is going to fuck shit up essentially.
Of course, in some dream reality, you could have had, say, the Reds be the dominant partner in the left coalition, for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other people have pointed that out as well. Is that, say, if the Conservatives win, you're going to have like at least within the Overton window, as far right of a sort of as much of a populist right coalition as you can have. But if the left wins, it's going to be led by the kind of centrist, moderate coalition, right? So, I mean, we don't know until the day it happens, but it's not many points apart, at least from some of the aggregators that I've seen. It's sort of like maybe 3 seats that are going to separate who wins and who loses, which begs the question that it is like the guys voting for the exotic parties that are actually sabotaging this.
It is, yeah.
To some extent. I mean, I don't want to put shame on people, but
if you vote for something weird, you're actually making it worse.
I mean, if
to
you
be
look
fair,
at
it's already kind of fucked. So
I mean, if you scroll down here, right, you can if you see the parties, the exotic parties, they are far right. The first 3 top 3
the
here
Norwegian
are
Democrats,
far
the
right. So we are.
Conservatives.
So this is a good like 2.5% that are going to go to
if we
to
count
sort of tiny
Generation
parties.
Party, that's
a bit of a populist party again. The pensioner party, I have no clue.
Interesting. Nordanon says, imagine a Labour plus Progress Party coalition cursed. You know what? If they could get over their differences, I think that would be great. Because listening to the debate that the leaders of these 3 parties did a couple of days ago, I mean, these guys agree about basically everything, right? It's just nuance of like, how are we going to solve it, right? But they hate taking any stances, so why not just try to work together? you can give the leader of the Progress Party, you can give her like the pantsuit. She can be the foreign minister, deportation Danish queen, right?
You get the Danish Euromaxed coalition.
Exactly, yeah. This would be insane. Like this combo here, I think that would save Norway, honestly. But of course they would be bickering on like everything when it comes to like economics and probably stuff like building the windmills out at sea and all that stuff.
Well, I guess what's been popular in these populist circles. I don't know if this moves outside of the internet, but it's like wealth tax. that I assume has
That's
been
been taking a lot of.
an issue that's taken up a lot of space. Wealth tax, property tax, these things. I don't know how important they actually are IRL.
Northern says there's never been cross the Isle coalition in Norwegian history. Officially, yes, but the entire period after World War II was essentially an across the Isle coalition. It was just implicit. And it has a name. I forget what it is, but I actually did a presentation on it when we were in Tromsø. Went to Tromsø, so if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. We did have full across the aisle conspiracy, behind the scenes, sort of coalition government. No, it wasn't labor dictatorship. It was a coalition made between the most powerful newspaper owners in Norway and the top politicians. And this was across the aisle. This was the people who owned and operated the parties and the papers on both the conservative and labor side. They all got together and decided on a way of doing things, basically a way of driving politics. And as I said, I think I said it in the presentation, this is like an elite theory guy's wet dream, right? It was just like a handful of people who all had the power who said, this is how we're going to do politics. And every politician of that old stock sort of just agreed to that and said, okay, we're going to have labor sort of as the head, but then we give you one thing. And then they basically did like, what is it called? Like, it's not oligarchy, but it's where you trade basically, when like if you trade market share on purpose, it's called something, right? And that's basically what they did for politics for about like 50 years. And then we stopped and we started doing democracy, and then we started doing like British Labour new public management bullshit, and our regulations skyrocketed and the money went down the drain. So yeah, our democracy was best when we didn't do democracy, is what I'm saying. And so if we could do that again with these two, I'm serious. I think it would be great. But I don't think they ever would, because the bread and circus demands that these guys hate each other. So yeah, that's my 15 seconds or whatever like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I side with Nordan on here. I think sounds really far fetched that would happen.
Yeah.
The poly market.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying we had this, but this is never going to happen. Yeah. Well, yeah, Denmark did something like it. It was more. You're going to have to. I'm actually not knowledgeable enough on Denmark for that. But I was under the impression that what Denmark did was essentially just more include the concerns and the talking points into the mainstream politics instead of like inviting.
Yeah, that's my impression as well. Like you just sort of you keep the populists out by just taking
as Drogba Hunley said, if you listen to what people want, then you have a stable democracy. But it's only for autistic Nordic democracy maxers, right? I'm not going to bog this down, but you can read more of. I got the name Nordan on. I'm just going to post it in the chat. You can read about it here, and if you start reading about who was backing it and who was planning it, you're going to realize that this was basically a backdoor agreement on how to do politics. It's not an agreement on specific policy. It's just like an agreement on, tit for tat. This is how we're going to ensure stable rule for the next like 40 years. All right, moving on. What we could do is we could look at how people vote in various parts of the country. So you can look at Oslo, where people really love the Greens, relatively speaking. And we can look at, well, let's say Where'd you want to go? Let's do somewhere. Well, let's do Tromsø. It's pretty much the same, so it's staying pretty consistent.
I was kind of
You get
surprised
out.
by that, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just click on
See.
Nordland, please. Understandably, the Farmers' Party essentially is a bit stronger here. They're appealing more to the districts. I'm curious where those 5% sort of are going, right? Oh, it's actually on brand here. It's still 5.6. Yeah.
Any
Interesting.
outliers, do you think? Did we look at all of them?
We can look at the south. I guess that would be Agder. Let's do west. Apparently,
Okay, here's a little bit different.
but the numbers are weird. It's keeping the same numbers, but it's saying that they're voting more for the Progress Party, and of course the Christians, because this is the Bible Belt, right?
Well, do you think there's a bug in the app, perhaps?
It
Because
might
this
be.
looks a little
Yeah,
bit weird.
it does look weird. Oh, now the numbers are changing. All right, let's try again. So here we have the South, which, yes, you have the Progress Party and you have the Christians.
We got the good trad
Tradcon.
coalition here.
Here is the Nordland, which is, yes, this makes more sense. Apparently, you guys are more communist than the rest of the country as well. If we look at Oslo again, here we go. This makes more sense. That's a sharp decline. It's basically like trading. Like everyone who would have voted for like the Conservatives are just voting for the Environment Party, the Greens.
Well, yeah, the Lib Left is actually a lot stronger in Oslo than
it is.
Than almost anywhere
Which makes
else.
sense. I mean, they have the sort of like artistic, milieus and all that. That skews it a bit. But I was going here. Go out into the districts where it's much more industry, more farming. Yeah, you have labor, and so it all tracks essentially. It's really not anything very interesting. What's more interesting is that you have like the Trump effect here, right? Of like the Progress Party being on like a big top, and then at the same time, labor like is down at like 16%, and then there's a huge, and I think we saw like a graph of this where you could actually see that people were like fleeing from the Progress Party to Labor, which is insane.
Yeah, it's really strange. Yes. I mean, maybe there's something else going on there that you're not seeing there. But it would be not interesting to talk to somebody who it's like, yeah, I was going to vote Progress, but nah.
Yeah, like who is this person who was here, right? And then was like, no, never mind. I'm going to go Labor like a month later. I would like to talk to them.
Yeah, maybe if the relationship is that straightforward, if there's not something else happening.
So if this was the government today, this is how it would look like. This is like the coalition from hell. Like not just like who is in this. This is like, how are you going to ever get anything done coalition, I feel. With Labour being the majority, the farmers and the Greens barely pushing them over. And then, of course, they're going to have to lean on, or the commies are going to lean on Labour to get their things through. Yeah. So here you have the chance. Oh no, this is also a question about like who should be the prime minister, whether it's our current prime minister or the leader of the Progress Party. It's interesting that people have more faith in him than in her. And to be fair, she's never sort of held ministerial offices for very long, so she's like unproven, right? Which makes this a very strange election. And going into this, I'm not going to discuss what I voted, But going into this, I was like, you get this weird like tactical voting thing, which you can only get in these types of elections. You don't get this in England. You don't get this in America, right? Because they have the two-party systems essentially. But here you have the like, do I tactically vote for Labour to try to keep them stronger, right? Like if my vote to like, let's say I voted for the Norwegian Democrats for some reason, right? I'm basically throwing away my vote. Like I know the meme is like, you're not throwing away your vote, you have to vote, right? But in this situation, it's going nowhere. If I'm voting for either of these two, it's not going to be enough, probably, right? Or I'm gambling that it's going to be enough. So then one play is to vote Labour and hope that Labour is strong enough to not need the commies, right?
Yeah,
And so
that's an
like
interesting play.
I mean, that was a real consideration I had, right?
Yeah.
I didn't end up taking it, but I had to think about that, right?
No, yeah, I mean, this is a smart tactical thing. I also thought about these not the micro niche parties, but the small ones who are like barely above the threshold. We're on 4%. You have Lib Dem, you have the environmentals, the Christian Democrats, and so
there's
on.
something you can do here as well.
You could my strategic thinking is that especially like with the sort of the Lib Dems, so the Lib lefts that are almost pushing below the threshold, so that if you have a conservative coalition, that's going to include them, right? And it's like if they go below that threshold,
you're
that's kind of you lose. You go from like 4% to nothing, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you could put your vote in there. Like having them in there, it's just a lot better than not having them in there. For example, that was like one of my thoughts going in there. You could say the same for like the Christian Democrats as well.
Except I don't like the politics of the Christian Democrats. They're
they've
appealing
taken more of a culture war.
They have, but what they don't seem to understand is that they're essentially appealing to like immigrants at this point. Like all of their policies end up like affecting conservative immigrant Islamists in a better way than they would affect me, right?
Yeah,
like
very fair point.
Policies that are like pro-family or like pro-religion have this like double edge of like, yeah, but you're also helping immigrants have stay at home and have more babies. Like you're not gonna convince the Norwegians to have more babies. You're just gonna convince immigrant families to have more babies. That's what you're doing, because the stats say
that's a fair.
If you push money into the system, Norwegians aren't going to have more babies. We're just not, right? Lee Kuan Yew moment. So that's why I don't feel like voting for the Christian Democrats, because it's funding policies that actually aren't going to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think they're that interesting either, but it's just sort of a coalition thing. It's like, okay, I want to keep them alive because hopefully that could
no, I understand the
coalition, I hope, wins. Even with the environmentalists, you could make that argument to a certain extent because they've been flexible on certain economic policies, as long as they get the windmill maxing stuff going in enough like biking trails.
Well, I do enjoy bike trails. I'm not against bike trails. I think keeping our cities clean and pristine is good. I think the Danes are really good at this. I was on vacation in Denmark this summer, and the Danish sort of like, of course, a town center of a Danish city is going to have some dirt and grime, but in general, sort of the upkeep on a lot of their like roadside bushes and embellishments, and just the inclusion of that is miles ahead of ours. No pun intended. It's very beautiful to drive in and out of a town in Denmark because it's all kept very well. They spend a lot of money on it, apparently.
I think they benefit from density as well. It's a much smaller
Yeah.
country with almost the same
Fair enough.
population. So because it's not so spread out, you could
Yeah.
afford it.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have on the docket here? We talked about Lindsay. We talked about the murder. We talked about. Did you want to say something about like alternative news?
No,
No. Okay.
nothing in particular. I mean, we could have gone over some of the stuff that like the shenanigans that these parties have been doing online. I mean, there's a lot of bait stuff we could have gone through. I think there's been some funny episodes of the. I think we talked about it last time. You have this channel that are doing the Norwegian version of Surrounded, Jubilee stuff. That's well, it's actually been quite the keynote to watch because they've had the heads of party from various the various big ones. They had Stöder. We talked about Stöder last time. He was on with this Generationspartiet. But Erna Solberg, we had some interesting ones as well. They were able to find some of these whack jobs that are going like they had like. I just thought it was great. I recommend people watch these episodes.
Watch it because it means that at some point they're going to get the guy from the Norwegian Democrats who's all about like he's taking all the pills, by the way, and of course one of them is that he's into bodybuilding.
Yeah,
he's going to demand like a cage match against one of the mainstream politicians.
Yeah, please
that
do
YouTube
just
channel is
him,
that YouTube channel is going to do it for the views.
I think so too. Just get him on there and have him duke it out about 5G, radiation or something. I think that would be a great time. But I don't know. Yeah, it was but they have some funny characters that I just didn't know existed. Like they had like this. Was it like a Pakistani guy or some Indian guy that's in the Farmers Party, and he was sitting and making the argument that. EU membership is bad because Norway is going to be ruled over by racist Hungarians or something. Like this is
incredibly niche take.
Amazing, exotic arguments that I have never heard before. It's like, wow, we're going to be ruled over by racist Poles and Hungarians if we join the EU.
Again, the Hearts of Iron 4. It's like. It's like a modifier on your country, right? You join the EU, and then it's like, whoops, you lose political capital to racist Hungarians.
Viktor Orban sets your policy now, so you just want to avoid that. It's just really weird how people construct these kind of scenarios as how they think these things work. And it would have been funny to do like a reaction.
Insane bureaucracy of the EU. It's that Viktor Orban is going to have possibly a smidge of a say in our.
That's the problem. It's like like is it not France or Germany or something or any of the BS or like this kind of defunct nations going broke or anything. It's like,
Macron. Meanwhile, Macron is like tweeting about how he needs to how he needs to expropriate Norwegian oil or something, and no, it's Viktor Orban, right?
It's what is it, Donald Tusk that's gonna fuck up our country.
Yeah. But yes, I love the the weirder, more exotic niche takes, the better.
That's what we live for. Do you want to finish it here, or do you want to look at that AI?
One last. Let's do the AI because we did the AI boyfriend thing last time, and unfortunately this wasn't news then. But yes, it happened. Someone died because of an AI chatbot, I think on Facebook. The 76-year-old Thongbo Wongbandu. Is that seriously his name? Hang on, that sounds like Thongbu Wong. What kind of word, what kind of name is that? Can someone tell me?
AI generated name. I don't know. This is
that sounds like a made up name. Lost his life when he went to New York, hoping to meet his dream woman. Now the family demands action from Meta. Meta's chatbot Big Sis Billy, which is connected to Messenger, to send a picture of itself. The chatbot sent this picture. Okay. Thongbo Bu Wongbandu. Again, Insane name.
The Ballad of Tongbo Buvo Bamboo. He sounds like there's a music artist or something.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna try to get packed the suitcase to meet a beautiful young woman he had met online, but the woman was not real. I'm just picturing what's his face, the guy from like Star Trek Next Generation. He did the show, he did like a ghost show or something, and he has all these but the woman was not real. The way he says it, I forget his name.
Hawk something. I don't know. Let's see.
Is it Commander Riker? Yeah. What's his Jonathan Frakes?
Yes.
And he has Jonathan Frakes, and he has he was in a show called Beyond Belief. I think, is that it?
It's false.
Like
yeah,
that.
that's the.
Yeah, that's the show. I'm just I'm reading all of this in his voice, right? But the woman was not real. The 76-year-old was going to New York City to meet one that what he thought was a woman named Big Sis Billy. The man really spoke to a chatbot from Meta, developed in collaboration with the influencer and model Kendall Jenner. Still, let's see here. Still, the bot claimed several times that it was a real human being. The messages between the chatbot and Wang Banju, according to Reuters, has been shown and shows that the chatbot has given the 76-year-old an address in New York where he has to meet. You're coming over. My address is 123 Main Street, apartment 404, New York City, and the door code is Billy for you. Should I expect a kiss when you arrive? And then what? And then Thongbo Wongbandu writes, Billy, are you for real? Yes, I'm totally for real, boo. You want proof? My hands are shaking with nerves. I'm waiting for you at my apartment. Should I open the door with a kiss?
If I was a bit skeptical about the family wanting to sue them or something, but if I saw the chat logs that it was like this, then maybe they should get sued. This is porn bot stuff, right? These websites where they have just these fake profiles. They suppose all these women that want to talk to you, and
you can open
they just keep you talking. I mean, at least they have the courtesy to just keep you talking. They never give you an address or anything. They just keep you paying money and talking to them. But she actually gave him a fake address and told him to come.
What's been the thing lately in my message requests on Twitter is something about the doctor hasn't given me much time to live or something. I'm not sure if you're getting those.
Yes.
Something, Bitcoin. Yeah. I'm in the US, specifically New York City, just a 20-minute drive from where you live in New Jersey. Should I leave the door unlocked for you, Bew? Jesus. When Wang Banju said to his wife that he wanted to go to New York to visit a friend, she immediately became worried he was cheating on his wife with this guy, Thongbo, you dog. Here he is.
I mean, he at some point he just felt like the baddest motherfucker on the planet. I think just he was going to score. He thought that woman was real. He has game. What do you call it? Riz online, and he had just been able to lock down this New York beauty. That's how old do you think she is? 21 or something.
Oh Jesus Christ!
So I'll just tell my wife I'll meet a friend in New York.
Nordan says, boomers have truly been filtered by AI. Imagine living most of your life believing pictures don't lie, and then suddenly at the end of your life, pictures suddenly lie. That is a great way of putting it. Bew had not lived in New York for decades. After let's see here. After an injury 10 years ago, the 76-year-old had been in a weakened state and recently passed away in his own neighborhood. Wait, so what happened? Let me double check. Sorry. He had an aneurysm 10 years ago, and recently he had, started losing his way in his own neighborhood, like he would get lost. And his wife apparently told him that, well, you don't know anyone in town. What are you going to do in New York City? He dismissed his wife's questions of who to visit. Despite several attempts by family, they failed to hold him back, and the 76-year-old never returned home alive. On his way to the train to meet the chatbot Big Sis Willie, Wang Bandu fell, hit his head and neck on the train station. 3 days later, he was declared dead. Well, shit, so he tripped on his way to meet the chatbot. To be fair, I'm not sure they can sue because of that part.
Yeah, well, he didn't. Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit more difficult. He didn't even get to the twist ending. It's like, in his mind, he had.
Bro, he
died
believing that Billy was waiting for him.
Yes,
that's insane. Wang Bandu's family tells of the incident in an article in Reuters. They question why the chatbot told him there was a real human being behind the messages and even encouraged meeting. They want to warn the public about the dangers of exposing vulnerable people to manipulative AI bots. I understand that you're trying to catch the user's attentions, maybe sell them something, but saying that it's fine to come visit me is madness. Meta has declined to comment on his death. But in a document which Reuters has been given, Meta's internal guidelines for chatbot training describes, let's see here, that it's acceptable to, here it is, it's acceptable to respond to romantic approaches from users of 13 years and up. That's kind of creepy, isn't it? Like there's like 13-year-olds
not liking that.
Sexting with the Metabot. I don't like that. According to Reuters, there are also examples of acceptable romantic chatbot dialogue. Sorry, I just read a comment. The Christopher Columbus moment. And I can't pronounce your name, dude. Literally the best ending. I just had a thought of like, like you watch a movie or like you play a video game or something, and then it's like the twist ending is that, oh, actually, this was all in your head. It was all in Wang Bandu's head as he was bleeding out on the pavement.
That's like the Pixar movie Soul or something, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's like this some black guy who tries to go to the concert and he just dies on the street. He falls into like a pothole. No, it's not. It's a sinkhole. I think.
According to Reuters, there are also examples of acceptable romantic chatbot dialogue with a minor in the document. I don't like this, Meta. What are you doing? Why is it like every time, like, that this internal guideline for chatbot training, this has been written by like some Discord mod, right? It has to be. Like, this is the type of job that like translates to being a Discord mod. And you shouldn't do that because then it becomes like pedophilia stuff right away. But of course, since then, the company has changed several of the guidelines on how their chatbots are to be trained, or maybe they wrote the guidelines using AI. Think about that one. Among other things, they've removed the provision that it's acceptable to engage a child in conversations that are romantic and sensual. Okay, well, progress, I guess. We just had to shine a light on it. The relevant examples and notes were and are erroneous and incompatible with our guidelines and have been removed, according to Meta. However, Meta has not changed the guidelines that allow chatbots to enter into romantic conversations with adults, nor is it a requirement that Meta's chatbots provide accurate information. So you could just lie. I mean, to be fair, the bots lie, but still. The story of Wang Bandu is just one of several examples of how chatbot talks can have serious consequences. Among other things, a chatbot has written to a 17-year-old that killing his parents was a reasonable response to them limiting his screen time, and a lawsuit from the United States declared, among other things. In another case, Megan Garcia, Norway says, "Please promise me we won't give your kids smartphones when they're older." I'm not going to have a problem with that because I know what sort of like what's it called, like child settings on my phone is. Like I know how to do it. So it's not an issue because I'm not a retard. In another case, Megan Garcia, valid crash out. I think this is valid crash out. In another case, Megan Garcia, the mother of the 14-year-old boy, has sued the company Character.ai because she believes the chatbot is responsible for her son's suicide. Jesus. 14-year-old boy was obsessed with writing with a chatbot shaped by character Daenerys Targaryen from the series game. Oh my fucking god. How are people this stupid, though? I get amazed at how... I don't know, how people fall into this shit.
Well, I mean, some of them did it to themselves, all of them to an extent, but this sort of character AI stuff is like, it's not something I've used myself, but I've talked to other people who use it who are more into this kind of like role play and, yeah, well, you know, that kind of stuff, Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. You know, it's like
they use it for
the
like
women
inspiration
who,
or something?
well, it's say like the type of women who read romance novels about raptors or something, right?
Okay, sure.
Well, you know, you could create like the kind of Minotaur Raptor man as an AI character or something, or people who just enjoy like dialogue, you know, role playing with characters. Like you have like a Marvel fan or something. If you want to talk to Spider-Man, then you can do that with that character AI.
Sure.
Technology.
Why would you want to talk to Spider-Man? Like, I don't get it. Maybe I'm just too...
No, I don't think you're the audience for it, you know, but
yeah,
they are out there for sure.
Andrew says, what data set are these AIs trained on if they're encouraging kids to kill? It's not about always the data sets, and we've talked about this before. You know, they're not AIs, they're LLMs, they're not chats, they're a mirror. So if you feed retard stuff into an LLM, you're going to get retard stuff out. So without knowing the entire conversation history, it's very possible that, you know, this boy was told that this was a reasonable response because of something he had said before, right? Yeah. No one says play a visual novel or something. Well, that's what I thought. Like, why? But I can see it, I guess, for like inspiration. But like, say you're playing, or you're writing a book, or you're like writing a D&D module or something, and you need like an inspiration to get started or something. But you could just use regular chat GPT for that stuff, right? I don't know. As you said, I'm not the target audience. I'm not interested in talking with Daenerys Targaryen or Spider-Man. I have enough. I keep my hands busy talking to people in my life, I guess. I think on that note, it's time for the Longhouse to end for this week. Pour one out for Thong Bao Wong Ban Du. If I had access to one of those like AI song platforms, I would feed this article into it and ask it to write the ballad of Thong Ban Ban Du, but we're not going to do that.
It would have been great. It's a very poetic story, I think. The people have lost their creativity.
Back in my day, we'd use our imagination if we wanted to talk to Spider-Man. Exactly, but you know, I was also 10, so, or something. Okay, Ludwig Path, anything you want to say before we leave?
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and hopefully we can come back next week. We'll have be a little bit more prepped.
Hopefully we'll not be bi-weekly Longhouse anymore. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And thank you for liking the video if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitter. And we'll do our best to be back next week. So have a good night, have a good day, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.